What started as a typical Friday afternoon quickly transformed into a nightmare. Households packed their vehicles for a relaxing mountain retreat. Snow enthusiasts pursued pristine conditions, and motorists traveled eastward along Interstate 80 under bright skies. However, between the lower elevations and the peak, the Sierra Nevada had different plans. The peaks grew ominous, winds intensified, and in mere moments, the entire area became engulfed by such a violent tempest that it paralyzed one of the nation's most traveled alpine corridors. The precipitation didn't simply descend, it detonated across the pavement in opaque curtains. Complete whiteout phenomena obliterated the roadway, the skyline, and even brake lamps mere yards away. Vehicles rotated uncontrollably like playthings on ice. Large trucks pivoted dangerously without notice. Warning signals blinked through the tempest like faraway emergency signals. As the traffic jam extended for countless miles, thousands of motorists understood they weren't embarking on a leisurely escape. They found themselves imprisoned within an active, breathing snowstorm howling directly from the Sierra ridgeline. Some attempted fleeing by reversing down frozen exit ramps. Others compressed onto the breakdown lane, hoping they wouldn't tumble off the mountainside. Motors ran continuously. Precipitation accumulated against vehicle entrances. The tempest intensified, grew colder, became more unforgiving with each passing moment. Within 60 minutes, the Sierra didn't merely impede transportation, it sealed off access, confining thousands of individuals amid one of the season's most hazardous alpine storms. For countless California residents, this weather event started as mere background disturbance, a small obstacle en route to an eagerly anticipated mountain weekend. Sport utility vehicles loaded with belongings departed from Sacramento. Households streamed eastward from the Bay region. University students traveled in groups toward Lake Tahoe, celebrating, playing loud music, and envisioning the pristine snowfall awaiting at higher elevations. Yet around Colfax and Gold Run, the enthusiasm transformed into anxiety. Snowflakes that previously drifted peacefully across glass panels abruptly concentrated into thick wind-propelled curtains. The interstate's dark surface vanished beneath a new white coating, and driver assurance dissolved equally rapidly. Velocity decreased from 65 miles per hour to 40, then 20, and finally to a creep. Almost immediately, loss of control incidents emerged like cautionary signals from the mountain's spirit. A compact car slid laterally across multiple lanes. A truck lost grip and drifted forward into accumulated snow. Automobiles braked aggressively, wheels sliding across invisible frozen patches. As each vehicle decelerated to prevent collision, the domino effect propagated until miles of stopping lights merged into a luminous crimson strand extending through the woodland. The irritation escalated quickly. Certain motorists tried dangerous maneuvers, reversing down icy exits, squeezing unlawfully onto margins, even attempting turnarounds on curves without visibility. Others remained immobilized, observing the precipitation rise higher against their glass as the storm compressed around them. What commenced as a 2-hour picturesque journey had morphed into a frigid, anxiety-inducing deadlock.
The Sierra had activated the switch, converting a pleasant weekend departure into a brutal lesson about how rapidly alpine climate can dominate everything before it. As voyagers inched their path upward, the genuine breakdown occurred at the location where storms strike most severely, Donner Summit. Situated over 7,000 feet above ocean level, this segment of Interstate 80 possesses an extensive record of harsh winter conditions. Yet even experienced residents claimed this whiteout materialized quicker and more violently than anything witnessed in years. By late afternoon, sight distance at the summit collapsed to virtually nothing. Motorists characterized it as navigating inside a snowsphere that someone continuously agitated. Headlamps vanished immediately into barriers of swirling white. Lane markings disappeared. Safety barriers became invisible. The external world beyond the windscreen became a glowing haze of ice, wind, and drifting precipitation. Subsequently, the spinouts commenced, one, then multiple, then scores. A large commercial truck jackknifed near Castle Peak. A series of automobiles slid sideways across the grade. A cargo vehicle spun entirely around and stopped facing the incorrect direction in the passing lane. With each new occurrence, traffic decelerated, expanded, and ultimately froze stationary. By mid-afternoon, authorities had no alternative. Interstate 80 was blocked in both directions from the Nevada boundary completely to Kingvale. Motorists who anticipated pushing through the summit instead discovered themselves stranded on one of the western region's most treacherous mountain passages. Engines continued running as snow climbed beyond wheels. Certain travelers exited only to retreat as windbursts struck them with ice particles. Others clustered inside their vehicles, watching the storm erase the highway surrounding them. Meanwhile, Highway 50, typically the alternative route, was collapsing under identical circumstances. Traffic stalled at Echo Summit, chain requirements tightened at Kyburz and Meyers, and highway patrol began holding automobiles in position to prevent additional collisions. Donner Summit wasn't merely slow or merely dangerous. It had become the focal point of a comprehensive Sierra closure, an unstoppable whiteout consuming everything before it. While Donner Summit locked down under a blinding whiteout, the tempest was already spreading outward, overwhelming every thoroughfare threading through the Sierra. In Douglas County, deputies started reporting simultaneous vehicle spinouts, cars fishtailing across icy turns, pickups losing command on the slightest descending slopes, and SUVs skidding laterally despite all-wheel capability. Zephyr Cove, ordinarily peaceful and scenic, became a frozen snare where motorists struggled merely to maintain straight direction. The sheriff's department urgently requested sand vehicles, cautioning that roadways had become slick as glass. Further south, Kingsbury Grade, an infamously steep and confined mountain passage, was struck even more severely. Chain requirements activated almost instantly. However, for numerous drivers, the caution arrived too tardily. Vehicles lacking chains began sliding rearward down the incline, powerless against the polished ice beneath their wheels.
Certain motorists abandoned their automobiles completely, opting to proceed on foot rather than risk another instant on the gradient. Snow blasted horizontally across the passage, transforming every switchback into a sightless, icy wager. In the Carson Valley, the storm altered characteristics once more. What initiated as cold rainfall abruptly converted to heavy, pounding snowfall within moments. Community members observed the transformation from their windows, wet pavement becoming white, then vanishing entirely beneath a rapidly building layer of slush and powder. Once the storm fully established, visibility had declined so drastically that motorists could scarcely see the tail lamps directly before them. The gridlock worsened hourly. Reports arrived of travelers requiring 3 hours to advance merely 5 miles, imprisoned between spinouts, stalled motors, and endless snow accumulations. Frustrations intensified. Fuel indicators descended. Certain motorists tried edging around the gridlock on narrow margins only to become stuck themselves, blocking the few remaining open lanes. One reality became evident. The catastrophe wasn't confined to one summit or one highway. The complete Sierra road system was buckling simultaneously, overwhelmed by a storm seemingly determined to close every route into the mountains. Precisely when motorists believed the blizzard had released its maximum fury, a new adversary arrived: the wind. Not the gentle mountain breezes travelers expected. This was a thundering, violent atmospheric wall descending from the ridgetops, powerful enough to shake trucks, bend roadside structures, and transform blowing snow into weaponized ice fragments. Meteorological stations across western Nevada began registering alarming information. At one sensor along Highway 88, a malfunctioning reading displayed a shocking 271 miles per hour gust, a figure that immediately circulated online. Though authorities promptly confirmed it was an instrument malfunction, the implication was unmistakable. The atmosphere above the Sierra was exploding with force. Actual verified wind velocities between 44 and 59 miles per hour tore across Sheridan Acres, Wally's Hot Springs, and the Carson Valley, strong enough to vibrate structures and force high-profile vehicles across lanes. The emergency calls arrived next. Firefighters rushed toward reports of fallen cables near Highway 395 and Muller Lane. Snow whirled around their vehicles as they maneuvered across slick pavement and near-zero visibility. Fortunately, the lines proved to be communication cables rather than active electrical wires. Nevertheless, the incident emphasized how vulnerable the infrastructure had become under the storm's bombardment. Meanwhile, highway conditions deteriorated by the minute. Sudden crosswinds hammered into commercial trucks, causing trailers to oscillate violently like enormous sails captured in a tempest. The Nevada Highway Patrol issued a high-profile vehicle prohibition on Interstate 580 north of Washoe Valley, cautioning that even a moment's distraction could overturn a trailer sideways. Overhead, clouds thickened and tumbled like massive ocean swells across the heavens. As the cold front penetrated deeper into the region, the storm transformed again. Temperatures plummeted sharply, winds screamed through the canyons, and the initial new bursts of precipitation began spiraling across the valley floor. This wasn't merely a winter storm anymore. It was a multi-front atmospheric assault, pounding the Sierra with snow, ice, and winds fierce enough to challenge even the most seasoned mountain travelers. As daylight disappeared and temperatures plummeted, the Sierra entered its most perilous phase of the storm. The National Weather Service issued a winter weather advisory for the complete Lake Tahoe Basin, cautioning that the most intense snow bands had yet to materialize. For motorists still trapped on the highways, this signified one terrifying truth: conditions were about to deteriorate further. Snowfall amplified into thick, wind-driven bursts that erased tire marks within seconds. Blowing snow swept across the roadway like waves of white vapor, reducing visibility to merely a few feet. In certain locations, motorists reported perceiving nothing except swirling white: no automobiles, no road, no horizon. Every inch forward became a risk. Throughout western Nevada, a wind advisory remained in effect as gusts rattled residences, slammed into vehicles, and roared between the mountain ridges. Roadside signage shuddered in the gale. Loose snow was elevated off the surface and hurled across lanes in blinding streaks, transforming even cleared sections of roadway into instant hazards. Caltrans crews labored tirelessly through the chaos, guiding plows through narrow passages carved between stranded automobiles. Towing operators struggled to reach vehicles stuck in deep snow accumulations. Emergency personnel braved freezing temperatures and treacherous footing, responding to continuous calls of spinouts, stalled engines, and vehicles abandoned mid-lane. Authorities urged residents, do not attempt to enter the Sierra until at least midday Saturday. However, for numerous individuals, the caution came too late. Traffic congestion stretched for miles. Engines idled in the cold. Households huddled beneath blankets as fuel levels diminished. The storm demonstrated no compassion, strengthening hourly. By midnight, the Sierra was no longer a travel corridor. It was a fortress of ice and wind, a closed mountain range, a territory off limits to anyone who undervalued its raw, unpredictable force. As the night deepened, one reality became clear. This was not merely a winter storm. It was a complete shutdown, a reminder that nature still commands the mountains. As the storm gradually releases its grip, and the first suggestions of morning begin to illuminate the mountains, one lesson emerges above the rest. The Sierra is magnificent, but it is never to be undervalued. Within just a few hours, a simple weekend drive became a survival struggle. Whiteout passages, jackknifed semi-trucks, spinouts on icy grades, and winds powerful enough to shake entire vehicles. Donner Summit, Highway 50, Kingsbury Grade, every route into the mountains reminded us how quickly nature can assume control. Yet through the chaos, there exists resilience. Snowplow operators labored through the night, carving narrow lifelines between stranded automobiles. Highway patrol officers braved freezing winds to maintain public safety. Travelers, cold and frightened, still discovered ways to assist each other, pushing stuck vehicles, sharing information, lending blankets, offering hope in the darkness. It's a reminder that even when storms are at their worst, people can be at their best. However, make no mistake, this storm was a warning, a reminder that speed limits don't apply during a blizzard, that all-wheel drive is not invincible, that checking road conditions before departure could be the difference between a safe arrival and hours trapped in whiteout hell. If you found this coverage valuable or enlightening, like this video to support the channel. Share it so others comprehend the danger of Sierra travel in winter. Subscribe for more breaking weather coverage and real-time updates. And now we leave you with this. Have you ever been caught in a winter storm that spiraled out of control? What did the experience teach you? Tell your story in the comments. Your voice might be the warning someone else needs.